Yes, there he is, Dr. Jason Johnson. He's joining me now on the internet, low balling it or in the cellar because he'll be on prime time in a moment. About an hour, he'll be on MSNBC, and you can watch him there. But we've got him, and it's been way too long. Great to see you. Thank you for getting dressed up.
First off, you have that completely wrong. I will not be on MSNBC tonight. MSNBC doesn't exist anymore, Pete.
Oh, MS Now. He'll be on MS Now.
Yes, I will be on MS Now at 7 o'clock on the weeknight. Yes, he is I and I am him. Chilled with the tilted brim. To quote my favorite rapper, I am here.
Who your favorite rapper's name is I Am Here?
Yes, that is. He was a very lesser known rapper, primarily performed in my high school cafeteria. Also known as me. Yeah.
Oh wow, those are your lyrics you just cited.
No, that's yeah.
I have no idea what's going on.
It's a Snoop lyric from like 35 years ago.
While you're talking about rappers and stuff, you put up, I think, a YouTube. What do I need to know about Puffy and 50 Cent and that documentary? What do I need to know about that?
The main thing that you need to know, as anybody who pays attention to American culture knows, is that it's like the last chapter of Me Too. That's the best way to look at it. It's the last. If you think of the Me Too movement starting in the aftermath of Trump getting elected in 2016 and in early 2017, you start having Harvey Weinstein and all the Kevin Spacey and all these people being exposed for decades of abusive and terrible behavior to women, and that ran for about 6 or 7 years.
Kevin Spacey, of course, I think, was focused on men, but yeah.
I'm sorry?
I think Kevin Spacey was going after dudes, although he's been completely vindicated, I think, Jason. If you think back, yeah, so this somehow in the timeline as a bookend?
Yeah, I think it is, because obviously Trump getting back into office is saying that a certain chunk of the country doesn't care about the idea of men in power abusing young girls, abusing women, abusing anyone for their sort of sexual desires. And to Kevin Spacey's effect, remember, Diddy was also sexually abusing men. So it's sort of a bookend to that. And it's a fascinating journey through, if you're a Gen Xer or a millennial, or maybe even a boomer who cared about this sort of thing, of seeing all of this stuff was happening in broad freaking daylight. And we either joked about it or laughed about it or thought, as bad as it sounds, it can't be that bad because obviously someone like this would go to jail. And then you start realizing, holy crap, he probably should have gone to jail for a lot of this stuff. So I thought it was really interesting. You don't have to be super into hip hop. You don't have to care about East Coast, West Coast battles or any of that crap. A lot of it is sort of the political and cultural things that were happening.
What does 50 Cent have to do with? I refuse to look it up, and I don't know. Maybe I should. But what is he made a documentary? Why?
See, and this is the thing, and I'm so happy you're mentioning this, Pete, because this is like what some of my friends in the chat room are arguing about right now. Because there's a decent number of people, and I talk about this in my video, who are like, I don't like 50 Cent. He's a troll. He's a monster. He's a terrible person.
I don't know.
I don't want to do anything that was associated with him. A lot of people have perhaps a negative view. The thing is, 50 Cent is as involved in this documentary as McDonald's is with Chipotle, right? I mean, McDonald's had a large part to do with Chipotle being created, but it's not like you're getting McDonald's fries at Chipotle, right? 50 Cent, because of who he is and his name, probably made it easier for this documentary to get picked up, but he has nothing to do with it. He's not in it. There's no statements by him. It is a documentary about one of the most famous entertainers / moguls over the last 20 to 25 years and his lifetime. And there were a bunch of takeaways, but one was like, usually think with these sorts of things, it's like, oh, as they got more powerful, they did more terrible stuff. No, this thing goes back to his childhood. He was doing stuff in his 20s that would gray your hair. You're like, wait, you were like abusing people and using a camcorder? You know how much effort that would take? Like what kind of diabolical monster are you that you are assaulting people in like 91, 92 with a camcorder and then recording it on VHS? Like it's a fascinating story. I'm glad he's in jail, and it doesn't make 50 Cent a better person because I don't care
Is it a critical look?
I'm sorry?
Is the documentary a critical look at the abuse of his life?
Yeah. It's a critical look of sort of how Sean Combs came to power, for lack of a better word. It starts like with his upbringing and things about his family, and then his time at Howard University, and then his sort of rise as a music mogul, and then the death of Tupac and Biggie, and then, you know, sort of his downfall with the various allegations of abuse that are caught on tape, et cetera, sexual abuse and harassment of men, the drugs, all the way up until him getting thrown in jail. And again, what I think is, for the not initiated, just from a pure story arc, it's like, this is a guy who at the peak of his powers was like, when the MTV Music Awards mattered, right? This is a guy who at the peak of his powers is doing a duet with Sting, right? Like after Biggie got killed, it was like, you know, Sean Combs was like a global icon. Oh, right. Look at this man, blah, blah, blah. Sting is allowing him to use Every Breath You Take as the backdrop. I mean, I can scarcely think of another human being who was more prominent, of any color, who was more prominent across so many genres of American culture from about 97 to 2010 as Sean Combs. I mean, but
maybe Jennifer Lopez, who he dated.
Yeah, well, but even that's part of it, right? Like, he dated Jennifer Lopez back when people thought she could act and sing. Yeah. And, you know,
people are telling me to watch it, and I wasn't sure if I was really interested in it or not. I just get, I don't get that interested in those kind of stories. Maybe they trouble me. They make me upset. I get upset about it. I don't want to.
I don't usually care, to be 1,000% honest with you. I don't usually care. I usually think I've read enough and I lived through this.
It's like the true crime genre. I have no interest, zero. And it's one of the most interesting genres in the country, especially, I guess, more to women for some reason. But
women, for some reason, really like true crime. I've heard a whole lot of psychological and cultural explanations for why that might be the case. I mean, my guess, being a man and not being a woman, from what I have read and been told, is that women who are oftentimes the victims of various crimes, primarily perpetuated by men, that listening to true crime can sometimes be empowering. You know, when you're on the receiving end of bad behavior on a fairly regular basis, hearing about people who have committed crimes, who are brought to justice or stopped or something else like that, can probably feel good. That's a guess from what I've read.
Let's wrap this part of the conversation up by talking about the worst of the worst, which is the Epstein Island and everything we've learned over the past few weeks. And I just wonder what your thoughts. I mean, I remember last time we talked, you basically, one of the last times we talked, you said, no matter what comes out, there won't be any consequences. Do you still feel the same way?
I feel absolutely vindicated in the opinion that I've always maintained about the Epstein files, which is that if ain't nobody else getting prosecuted, there's not much point. I understand covering it from a news perspective, and I know that the public is interested. But if it doesn't open up additional investigations and additional prosecutions, all we're hearing about is bad behavior that everybody knew. And I like, there is a legal story, there is a public morality story, and there's a political story. The political story has already been answered. It didn't keep anybody from getting elected. Donald Trump got back into office, and the only people that really care about the Epstein files are Trump Republicans, right? MAGA people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, because independents and Democrats already know how they feel about the guy. So politically, it's like, okay, the moral question has already been answered. I don't think there's anybody except for, Megyn Kelly? I don't think there's anybody in America who makes excuses, who's making excuses for anyone trying to, maybe Matt Gaetz and Megyn Kelly, who tries to make excuses for anyone even entertaining that kind of behavior. And then the sort of legal question has already been answered. You know, nobody else is going to get prosecuted. They'll get embarrassed, but there you go. It's a shame.
It is a shame. What do you make of the big news from today? I'm sure you'll be talking about it later. This big story Vanity Fair did with Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who she said all kinds of disparaging things about cabinet members, the president himself, JD Vance, and now they're trying to clean it up.
You're breaking up. I heard you say Vanity Fair, and then everything else. It sounded like we were trying to communicate before a monster got you in a horror film. So what was it you said?
Am I back at all?
You're back. You're back now. It was sort of like, wait, Pete, there's a monster, Freddy, and then I couldn't hear you, so I assumed you're going to be dead. You should keep that in because that's literally how it sounded to me, like we were in a bad horror film. But you said something about Vanity Fair.
If people watching live heard that, let me know. The Vanity Fair story about Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff. Did you hear about this? I'm sure you're going to talk about it tonight.
I don't know if I've seen this. Oh, wait. Remind me. I think I saw something about this
today,
before I went to lunch.
Vanity Fair did like 10 interviews with Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Mm-hmm. And she said all kinds of disparaging things about the president, the vice president. She admits to Vanity Fair that Playboy Trump was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I did see part of that earlier today. I'm taking a look at that now. They also had those funny Vanity Fair pictures to make everybody look terrible. I think the thing is, this stuff is important from a news standpoint. Like it is, we should be informed about what the working conditions are like in the White House. But it's kind of like, is anybody surprised? Like nobody is surprised by this. America is split into three categories. There's the people who don't care because they're part of a cult. There's the people who do care, who've already made it clear that they think this is terrible. And the people who either don't know or don't care because they're so detached or cynical about the system that they presume that everybody behaves this way or that nothing will happen. So if you were to tell me tomorrow, that, that was Mark Burnett, right? This is the example we've been talking about for 15 years, 10 years. If you were to tell me tomorrow that Mark Burnett's personal jump drive was robbed and they released a whole bunch of unedited footage from The Apprentice where Donald Trump is using the N-word all the time, right? Which has been rumored for a decade that those sorts of things exist. I would be like, okay, and what's going to happen? Everybody on the 5 on Fox News is going to be like, well, rappers say it, Megyn Kelly would be like, well, I said the same thing about blah, blah, blah. Like it would, there's an echo chamber of people for whom nothing that he says or does would matter.
Right.
And finding out that Donald Trump is a terrible boss is like, finding out on that hidden video a couple of weeks ago, the Campbell soup ain't that healthy. I mean, shocker. When you the guy saying like, we could basically make, what do you say? We could make Campbell soup with like I don't know. He's like, it's like fake plastic soup. He says garbage. Why is anyone surprised?
What do you make of his reaction to the death of a legend and icon, a beloved actor and activist, Rob Reiner? And everybody, has seen his reaction. Apparently he's trying to walk it back somehow.
Oh, I heard he wasn't trying to walk it back. The last thing I saw, he was sort of doubling and tripling, quadrupling down.
Yesterday he was, but apparently I read reporting. I didn't see any quotes, but apparently when he found out that it was the son, he thought one of his supporters killed him, and he was fine with that. But when he found out the son killed him, then
he got nervous and started looking at his own children differently. Like what did he?
I think he felt that maybe his reaction wasn't, what was going to land differently, which is why it did. Like so many of his supporters, so many of his hardcore supporters were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Why are you inserting yourself into this?" Because obviously he puts himself into everything, but like that reaction was insane. It was just insane, and even his like ardent support, Nick Fuentes, was like way too much, and Reiner's a Jew. I mean, like it was pretty interesting to see the reactions. People were like, "Wow, too much, too far, sir."
I kind of feel like similar to Epstein. Yeah. I'm happy that we are still a country that can be offended by this kind of behavior.
Sure, that's a good point. Yeah,
I mean, like seriously, I'm happy that we live in a country where it's like, hey, a guy got killed. He and his wife were killed in his home, And one, why are you even talking about it as the president of the United States? And two, why are you attacking a man who's been murdered in his home? Right? So the fact that people are upset about that, hey, I guess we haven't lost the entirety of our soul. But I also think, and I'm very careful with this stuff, Pete. I'm not a psychologist. I people who say that the president has dementia or anything else like that, I'm like, leave that to experts. I've never sat down and evaluated this man, so I can't do those sorts of things. But I will say that even by Trump's standards, some of his recent rants seem to not come from a place of empowerment, but they seem to come from a place of frustration and disorientation.
Yeah. And
I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm like, this doesn't sound like a bully. This sounds like a confused grandpa in the mall.
Yeah, he's real broken right now.
Yeah.
He's not winning anywhere on anything, it would seem, that matters.
Yeah. Because it's like there is a version of Trump that if Rob Reiner died or was killed, there is a version of him that I see saying, something more brief. Rob Reiner was never a fan of mine, but back when Hollywood was good, he made some shows I liked. Something like that, right? Something really simple. Or the Trump administration has done everything it can to fight crime and crimes like this. Like I see a 2018 Donald Trump posting something like that. But what he posted was like, this is grandpa lost in the checkout aisle. And again, I'm not making a diagnosis because I'm not qualified to do so, but it certainly sounds weird even for this president.
What do you make of like the kind of collective emotional reaction of a beloved American who was really I think almost everybody was familiar with something that he'd done.
Yeah.
And he gets killed in the most grisly fashion by his own son. And everybody apparently knows him. I interviewed him a couple times. Great guy. Like, says the same thing about him, right?
Yeah.
Just the best guy. And so you're horrified by that. You're horrified by his death. To have the leader of the country remind us in a time where we really need, some humanity, that he's got none. That's just a collective emotional reaction to that. My advice was to just recognize how upsetting it is and then go do something good. Turn it into something good. Do something good. Don't give away your power. Don't let them steal your joy. But that's hard advice to take. It's hard practice. It's just so gross and upsetting to people all at once, I feel.
Well, and that's what I was saying. I'm glad that we can still feel that collective revulsion.
Right.
And again, we were just talking about Epstein, and there are not many, but there are people who either stay silent about the president's connection to Epstein. There are people who try to justify his connections to Epstein. I like the idea that you have people sort of across the board saying, okay, so the guy didn't like you politically. He got murdered by his own kid and his wife. What the hell? I think it's good that we have a society that can still respond that way. I also think, and this is a particularly upsetting thing. I was talking to a friend of mine who I was at lunch with, I was telling you, and it was one of those things where it was like, I can think of a couple instances where well-known people were, allegedly or killed by their children. I think it was Betty Shabazz was killed by, I think, one of her grandchildren or something else like that. Who burned her to death. You have the Menendez brothers. I mean, there's something particularly ghastly to the public mindset about children killing a parent.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I mean, like just on the levels of death, right? Like if there's a threshold of shock and disgust, it's like car accident, plane crash, random person with mental health or drug issues breaking into your home, random. But the idea of someone being killed in a grisly, brutal way by their own child is something that I think makes everybody shiver in a different kind of way, and it's not one of those things where like it makes you look at your kids different, right? Because there are lots of people around America who have children that have battled drug addiction and have mental health issues who are not a danger. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, ooh, we need to be more aware of this as a universal. That's not what you take from this. What you take from this is like, damn, on the scale of horrible things that could happen, this is probably right up there with losing a parent to a drunk driver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's the thing that you can't.
It's horrible.
Wrap your head around. And frankly, and I tend to be this person. I've never met Rob Reiner. You've met her. Joy's met him. I mean, like, I know people. Tiffany, I know people who've met them. I've never met the guy. I never met him or his wife. But it's also one of those things where I tend to look at it as like, even if he was not famous, this would upset people.
It would be a national story.
It'd be a national story.
Because the media loves these horrible stories, as we talked about earlier, true crime. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's all good points. Before I let you go, what do you think of your friend? You're probably friends with Jasmine Crockett. I feel like I've seen you interview her at least. I've interviewed her several times back in the day, and not too long ago, I guess. Love to get her back, but she's massive now. She's running for Senate in Texas. This is a black woman, though, and it's a Senate, it's a statewide race in Texas, and you got that great white guy there that
Tallarico.
Norm Macdonald. Yeah, great. What about the Tallarico? What about him? He seems pretty Christian.
My next video that I'm actually going to do tonight is going to be so this is a preview of the video I'm going to do tonight about that race. Yeah. What I can say about it is this. I always think it's very interesting when races go national, right? Where like everybody in the country starts paying attention to a race in a particular part of the country.
Yeah.
In part because, and I don't mean to insult anybody in the audience, right? If we were talking about a race in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, maybe even Colorado, it'd be like, all right, anybody can pontificate about it. But there's a couple places in this country that I think are so culture specific that like you really should defer to people who know that place or are from that place. Like,
good point. Yeah.
You and I talked about this, and I'm sure you had her on to talk about this. Like me and Chrissy, Dr. Greer, used to talk about this with like everybody wanted to talk about Mamdani. I'm not a New Yorker. That was a very specific, like if you don't know New York, you were kind of talking out of your rear end. Right. So, or you're talking about something happening in Florida, Texas, Georgia, California. Those are places where it's like, if you ain't from there, you should probably defer to the people who know better. So what I'll say is I have an assessment of the race that I'm going to do in my next video. And it's because I've been spending time talking to people who are actually from there and looking at what they have to say and mixing it with what I actually know about Jasmine Crockett, about Tallarico, and about what we're likely going to see in 2026 overall. So, that's what I can say. But as a general thing, Pete, and I say this all the time, I don't care if you're talking about sports or law or AI or whatever it is. I'm a big believer in like, hey, listen to the people who actually know what the hell they're talking about.
Right. Yep. I appreciate that.
Just running their mouths.
That's what the rule I've had this show run by. So I appreciate that whenever you remind us of it. And I'm looking forward to that video. I know you got to go. I appreciate your time as always, my friend. Go watch YouTube. It'll be on MSNBC tonight. MS Now tonight. Sorry. And then YouTube. The YouTube channel looks like it's going really well. Following them on Instagram and everywhere else. Dr. Jason Johnson, the one and only.
Always. I want to add this real quick before we hop off. I have to thank Pete Rock himself for encouraging me to do the whole YouTube thing. It's been 6 months.
Oh, good.
And I need to call you off. Yeah, it's been a really fulfilling journey.
Great. Oh, I'm so happy.
Really fulfilling journey. Yeah. And so yes, please go to Dr. Jason Johnson on YouTube. Just look me up. But I
go there now just to see the red turtleneck you wore in one of your last videos. That's a fulfilling journey right there.
Hey, I'm rocking full Christmas gear for the whole month when I'm on the air.
Unbelievable. Go see that video and then leave a comment on that turtleneck if you want to. Yes, I encouraged him to do it. I'm glad it's going well. Everybody should go subscribe right now, and we'll see you over there. Thank you very much for joining me, buddy.
Later, man. Peace.
There he goes. There he goes. He's going to hit that little red thing at the bottom. It's the bottom.
Is that what it is? It's the bottom.
The arrow. Oh, shit. So abrupt. Just gone. Out of my life. Shit. Wow. What a day. How you guys doing? Still here live. Okay, ask me anything in the chat. I'll answer. I don't want to go. I don't want to be alone. As soon as I hit end, I'll just be alone again, which is fine. I'll talk to myself for a little while. I'll ask myself some questions, some hard questions, you know? But why do I have such a sense of urgency about everything? What's that about? Why do I have to be so committed to seizing the day? Makes you feel guilty if you don't get it all done. I do not have a Christmas tree up in my apartment. I do not. No Christmas decorations at all. Didn't do it this year. The house, back at the house where my ex-wife and daughter lives, it's nicely decorated with all the stuff. I didn't do anything. I should have done some stuff. It's a little late. It's probably a little late. When is it too late? I haven't done my yearly rant on the inflatables. Earlier when I was live with my new friends Rod and Karen, I talked a little bit about it, but I've clearly lost the war against inflatable lawn ornaments. And no one seizes Tuesdays, you psycho. You're the best, Kim. That's very funny. It's never too late to decorate for Christmas, says Tina. But yeah, the inflatable lawn, I think you people with your inflatable lawn ornaments are still a huge part of the problem. I honestly don't think, like, I'd like to talk to somebody who has an inflatable lawn ornament, and I'd like to ask them, like, what were you thinking when you got it? When you saw that, you're like, oh, that'll be great out on the lawn. And when you unplug it and it deflates, it just looks like a big used condom on your lawn, or just a big tent. It's horrible. They're so bad, and they need energy. America is so unbelievably greedy. We're so greedy about like the necessities and energy. The way we use energy, I find the worst. I've tried to be very conscious of it. I'm no better than the next person, but at least I'm thinking about it. But blowing up these fucking lawn ornaments, so bad. So bad. Well, folks, I just got an award for post-interview banter, which I'm really excited about. Thank you. The awards people are here in my place. Best post-interview banter for the third year in a row. Thank you very much. I'm new to it, and yet I'm so good at it. Well, thanks for watching live, and I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Patreon.com/PeteDominic. I hope you'll join me this Thursday night when I host our weekly hangout, which we've been doing now for 5 years. It'll be 5 years and it'll be 6 years in March. So come by. It's a party. It's the greatest. Oh, yes, I am the king of the post-interview banter. You're the best at everything that you do. Yeah, I mean, these are my fans. This is what they say. I'm just reading the comments in the chat. You can read them too. It's not like I'm making these things up that people are saying. You're the most handsome while you do everything you do. Oh, who wrote that one? Oh, that's me. I wrote that myself. Yeah, that's right. Everybody is saying. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Try to stay positive. Don't let the bad man steal your joy. Namaste.